When the doubt gets loud, but answer that call. Vision ain't real till you grind at speed, so breathing deep. Then call the damn leads. Call the damn leads.
Hey, welcome back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drewbie Wilson. With more than 2 decades in sales, I've seen it, been through it, heard about it. Now I'm bringing those stories to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community. Because let's be honest, this is the greatest job on earth. It doesn't matter where you come from, what background, what personality type, you can create an amazing life in sales. And today's guest is no stranger to that journey. I'd like to welcome John Hewitt to the show. How are you, sir?
I'm incredible as usual. Thanks, Drewbie.
I love it. Well, I want to jump right in. I want to hear a crazy sales story from you, and I know you got one.
You know, I've had 5,700 franchisees that brought in 5,700. So there's so many that stick out. But one of the most surprising yet most rewarding was I had a guy that was 55 years old, or about 53. He was a banker his whole career, and he worked for this small town bank, and he only had about a net worth of about $150,000. And he came to us, and I said, and looking at buying existing locations back at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service. And I said, no way this guy's going to do it. He's going to take a risk for the first time in his life and going to become an entrepreneur. His net worth's only $150,000, and most of it was in his IRA. And sure enough, he went ahead and he became a big operator, owned virtually the entire Rochester market, multimillionaire. He just died, actually, and so he lived to be about 84. And it was a great story because he took that chance. And I see, so that's the biggest problem of people becoming self-employed is 2/3 of Americans think they want to be self-employed, but half of them aren't capable of being self-employed. And one of the biggest factors that kills them is their lack of risk tolerance. This guy spent a lifetime of being a normal business person at this small bank, this one branch little bank, small town of like 6,000 people. And he branched out and became an owner of the whole Rochester, New York, Jackson Hewitt empire.
That is, that's an incredible story. I'm sure it's just one of many. I mean, 5,700 franchisees. That's one heck of a number. I'm guessing it's got to be close to a record up there in the franchise world because that's significant.
I don't know of anyone else that's done it. There may be someone, but there can't be 5 of us.
Which is really something to say in terms of your willingness to also put a little risk out on some of these operators, right? Because when you're building a brand and you're bringing someone in to represent you and to be a part of what you've created, there's a little risk on your part as well. So I think this is an interesting thread to pull on because I know there's a lot of sales professionals out there listening right now who have been in their position for a little while, right? They're like this owner that you're mentioning. They're kind of feeling stagnant and they're like, I want to take a risk on myself. And so it can be scary. There's, always tumultuous times. There's always something going on in politics or the news or any of that. But the one thing you've probably heard this before is, I don't know if it's the right time. What would you have said to someone along the way who says, I don't know if it's the right time to take this opportunity?
Well, you're right, Drewbie. We take people through 4 steps to see if there should join us. One is, are they meant to be self-employed? Is this the right industry? Are we the right company? And then, is this the right time? And we assess based on their cash flow needs. Most of the brands that I've represented have been keep your day job. So they've been able to keep their day job and do this part-time. And then when they built up enough revenue, most of them would come into the business because they wanted this as their full-time career. So that makes it a lot easier, but you just have to check out how their family feels. You need family support. If you have a spouse and the spouse is against it, then it's going to cause divorce too many times. So it's I guess the biggest way to see it that's the right time is, do you have the cash flow necessary, and will this investment give you the cash flow to continue whatever lifestyle you want? And then is your family, is your parents, your spouse, your children, is everyone on board?
I really appreciate that approach. I think it's very holistic. I think it's very beneficial to the individual you're working with, right? You could probably just sell anybody with enough money to start the thing, and just if they fail, they fail. But again, you want to protect your brand, right? There's some risk on your part. And I still love the idea of helping this individual walk through what that actually looks like. Because what I think is very interesting about entrepreneurship and business ownership as a whole is that success is very much a perspective. Everyone's version's a little bit different. And some people, like you said, they love their day job and they just want to make a few extra bucks. Some people hate their day job, but they still want to go to their kids' t-ball practice on the weekend. And so, that success version, I think, is really cool that you're helping walk through to make sure, hey, does this align with you? And I think alignment's a big part of sales and growth. So, what are some of the things that you've seen that of the 5,700 people that you brought in, like what were some of the more successful guys doing on a consistent basis in that sense?
Well, first, I like that you talked about success, because our mantra has been for decades, happy, successful franchisees. If you have happy, successful franchisees, you're going to grow. And if you don't, you're going to fail. So we know we live and die with happy, successful franchisees. And there's two words. It's not just happy, because I've seen people that lose money and are happy. So, I mean, money doesn't drive everyone, right?
Right.
So it has to be happy and successful. And I define success by a fair return of investment for the money and the time you spent. And it's in your own mind, right? Success is in your own mind. And my success might be, I need to make 600,000 a year. Someone else might mean I need to make 85,000 a year. So success is different to different people, but it's in their own mind, and they get to pick their perception. Your perception is your reality. Well, when it comes down to the high performers, it's one thing is really paramount. I've had 1,100 franchisees become millionaires, and I've had almost 1,000 went out of business, and in the same systems. I mean, that's ridiculous, right? Well, my job is to give you the best system on the planet. If I do my job, what's your job? Your job is to follow that system. Now, of those 5,700, Drewbie, how many do you think followed my advice 100%?
20%.
Zippity doo dah, no one. And it started.
I tried,
yeah, it started with the first human being, right? I mean, they didn't listen to God, and people don't listen to God. They're not going to listen to John Hewitt or Drewbie Wilson, right? So that's number one is pass fail. You listen 98, 99% of the time, you're one of the top performers. You listen less than 90%, you're a failure. So it starts with that. Now, once you're following the system 98 or 99%, other things matter, right? Other things matter. And that things like attitude, drive, it comes down to two things. The most important most important 10 two-letter words. If it is to be, it is up to me. If it is to be, it is up to me. So it starts with that attitude. And, there's no excuses, no one there to pin the blame on. The buck stops at you, franchisee. And then once you understand that, it comes down to drive. In Made in America by Sam Walton, he said, people ask me what was different from me, founder of Walmart. What's different from me than other people? So the only thing I can think of is my drive. I'm fanatically driven to compete and win. And so it comes down to taking responsibility and how much you're driven to achieve. Again, people have different drives. Some people are happy making 100,000. Some people aren't happy unless they're making millions.
I love that. And it's so fun for me because, I'm young in the game, and I'm slowly building up this business with Call the Damn Leads and our brand and getting it out there. But hearing someone like yourself who's been in it long enough to see what works and what doesn't, just the idea that you mentioned earlier around what is your time worth? Where are you spending it? If you want to make $1 million a year, you got to value yourself at $500 an hour, assuming you only work what a normal person works, right? 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year with a 2-week vacation. Like, you want to make $1 million bucks, you got to make $500 an hour that whole time. What are you doing to make your time valuable to that level? Are you growing your skill set? Are you developing a team? Like, there's so many layers to this. And I think it's so interesting to hear you say that the time management and how they organize is a big part of that. So when you're working with these individuals that go on to be successful, what are some of the key indicators? Like, what are some of the early signs that you see that they're going to be a great team leader? Because nobody realistically gets to that level by themselves, right? So, like, what are the signs that they're going to become a great team leader to get to that level?
Well, a couple things. Number one is there's no school in America on how to be a CEO. So all of our training and all of our 8 brands is how to be a CEO. And so it's how you adapt to that training. And you're right that the biggest weakness, perhaps, of managers or leaders or entrepreneurs in this country is failure to delegate, inability to delegate. And one very overlooked thing about, you talked about how do you become worth $500 an hour? Well, there's courses you can take and other things, but one is you have to avoid doing the things you can pay people 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 hours to do, dollars an hour, right? And you have to avoid the minutia, and this, especially when you hate it. If you hate mowing the lawn, and you could pay someone $75 to mow your lawn, pay the $75. You're not only will you have time to think and grow your business, but you'll be more relaxed and have more energy to grow your business. So an important part of it is delegating very, very soon in your career. I have one of my new franchisees. She's 29 years old in Virginia Beach. She just got to the level where she has her first employee, and it's a mobile route. And she said she almost cried. She sent this employee for the first time out that she wasn't doing it herself. So for the first 6 months, she was doing all the mobile development, and then for the first time, now she has an employee. So she almost cried because she went to a new level. And you have to go up that level. You have to learn to work on your business. As Michael Gerber said, work on your business, not in your business.
Oh, that's so good. And it's one of the things that's easily overlooked because it's so simple for people to get caught in the day-to-day minutia. And I'm the one that's going to do it best. And I don't want to have to fix it if they make a mistake. It's just going to take me more time. It'll be easier for me to do it myself. And you stay stuck on that hamster wheel until you can just kind of let go of control and trust Jesus to take the wheel. And everything will be okay as long as you have the systems, the processes, the training, the proper expectations. And I think that's a big part of why franchising is such an interesting model to me, because it's almost like buying a business in a box, right? As you said, if you just show up and trust the process and follow the strategy that's been laid out for decades at this point on how to be successful, more than likely odds are pretty good you're gonna find a flow and be somewhat successful. And again, everyone's version's a little different, and to the levels will be different based on the work ethic. But when you're working with, the franchise system, what even made you decide to go that route? Was to build franchises? Just out of curiosity, why that model?
Well, I was blessed. I've interviewed tens of thousands, or not tens of thousands, but many thousand people in my 57-year career. And I've had at Jackson Hewitt and Liberty Tax, I had over 20,000 seasonal employees in my 10,000 offices. So I've interviewed a lot of people. And one of the questions I always ask is, what do you want to be when you grow up? And people of all ages, 30, 40, 50, they don't know what they want to be when they grow up. But I got blessed. When I was 20 years old, I was a student at the University of Buffalo, and I took a class at my dad's urging from H&R Block. I loved it. I found my passion at 20 years old. And 10 years later, I was running 250 H&R Block offices. And then 12 years later, I founded Jackson Hewitt, which grew to 6,000 offices, $1 billion company. And then when my non-compete ended, I founded Liberty Tax, a 4,000 unit company. So this is my 57th tax season. So I was just, one of my many blessings, and I've been so blessed, is that I found out what I wanted to be when I was just 20 years old.
I mean, something to be said, though, about being 20 years old and trusting that you can go all in on one thing. One of the hardest conversations I have with a lot of my coaching clients over time, and I'm sure you've had to have this with some of your people over the years, is the old cliche about millionaires having 7 streams of income. And so all of these young entrepreneurs and sales professionals are constantly adding a new vertical to their sales repertoire of, well, I've got this thing and I've got this thing and I can do your taxes and then I can also do your mortgage and then I can do pest control. And all of a sudden they've got 9 different things. And I would like your opinion on that. How do you think that goes for people? Is it something they should do or should they stick to one thing?
I just talked to someone yesterday. It was asked me for advice. We have a relationship with an immigration attorney, and she had gone over to the Mideast, like Dubai area, and she ran into a lot of people who were looking for other services. People from Dubai aren't looking to immigrate to the United States. Most of the world is, but not that part of the Middle East, the wealthy part, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, and Oman, and those areas. So she said she was looking for a second source she said, maybe I should diversify and do that also and help them invest in America or do other things instead of immigrate. And I said, well, you're too small. You're too small to diversify. Diversification is for people that are very, very successful. I tell people, until you're a millionaire, focus. And then once you get above net worth of 500, once you're growing your net worth and it's growing rapidly, like 200, 300, 500, 700, over 500,000, you can begin to think about diversification. But diversification generally leads to mediocrity. All of the successful people, if you look all at the richest people in the world, they focused when they were young. I mean, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and all of the great most wealthy people on the planet focus. And it might be just focusing on, you might be a football player and focusing on football, but focus is so important until you don't have enough talent, usually almost ever, to do 2 things at once and build them to greatness. And so the way I did it is I focused on Jackson Hewitt and became a $1 billion company. Then on Liberty, and it grew faster than Block and Jackson Hewitt. And then now I have 8 different companies, and I have 8 managers of each of those companies. But now I can lay back or sit back and have others do the work.
Thank you for sharing that. First of all, I appreciate the very concise breakdown on what that path looks like for the most successful. And also what I find interesting is you're still sort of in the same, like you didn't really change it up that much, right? You did Jackson Hewitt, you did Liberty, and now you're still franchising and maybe just a few different styles of brand represented. But at the end of the day, you're still working the model that you know, that you love, that you trust, that you can be an expert in. And I appreciate that, because far too many people are trying to be experts at too many things. And as you said, I think it's leading to a lot of mediocrity in the marketplace. So thank you for that. It means a lot to me. It's something that I've been personally very, very heavy on, like call the damn leads, brand congruency across the board. We help sales professionals get dialed in and be more successful. That's all you need to know, whether you're reading our books or listening to the show. Like, we're going to bring you the advice from true seasoned professionals like yourself, John. And so that's awesome to hear that. We could probably nerd out on this stuff all day, but I do want to be respectful of your time. How do we come find you, follow you, check out more about the brands that you're representing now? What's the best way to do that?
Well, I'm easy to find. You can Wikipedia me, but to contact us, it's loyaltybrands.com. Loyalty Brands.
Loyaltybrands.com. Well, I will be sure to put that in the show notes, man. Thank you again for spending a little time with us today. Truly means a lot, and very appreciative of the wisdom that you shared.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, listen, you guys know what to do. If you enjoyed the show, go share it on social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever you hang out. Put this episode out there. Let the world know you listened to John for a little while, that he blew your mind with some amazing gems and pieces of knowledge for you, and get it out there. Maybe you know somebody who sucks at what they're doing right now and they need to change and they need a little help. Send them this episode. You don't have to tell them they suck, right? Like, just say, hey, I heard this. I was thinking of you. Wanted to send it your way. I think you'll like it. And check it out, man, because that's what we're all about, helping sales professionals get more dialed in. And maybe you have a crazy sales story. I'd love to bring you on the show. Head over to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send us your details. We'll get you booked in. While you're there, grab a hat, keychain, swag, something to support us. You know what to do. Go pick up the phone. Call the damn leads. We'll see you next time.
When the doubt gets loud, but answer that call. Vision ain't real till you grind at speed, so breathing deep. Then call the damn leads. Call the damn leads.